Gerda Steyn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for speaking to Newzroom Afrika. It's been an incredibly tough time for everyone. And now with one of the biggest races in the world, the ultimate human race, being cancelled last week, it must be a massive inconvenience for an elite runner like you. You won it last year, so you had an equal chance of winning it, I would argue, this year. So you would have been desperately holding on to the hope that it does go on for 2020.
Good day. Yes, thank you for having me on the show once again. It's always a pleasure. Of course, we heard the news last week that the Comrade Marathon for 2020 is now officially cancelled. As a runner, for every runner, from elite to the last person crossing the finish line, it is heartbreaking. We all love the Comrades Marathon dearly. It's such a massive event for South Africans and international runners. And for me personally, it's one of the biggest items on my schedule, in my racing schedule in a year. So yes, of course, it is disappointing and it is heartbreaking, but it's understandable. Also, I think that the Comrades Marathon Association really did their best to try and still have a Comrades 2020. And that is the reason why they took so long to say whether it will be cancelled or not. But I think the chances of the race going ahead just got smaller and smaller, and that is why the decision to cancel it is now being made.
So do you agree with it being cancelled altogether, or do you feel there could have been space for it maybe later in the year, and maybe for now you do understand for reasons that you've mentioned that it's a matter of life or death at this particular point?
Yes, I think taking the circumstances that we are in at the moment and the uncertainty is really what made this decision to what it is, and I definitely understand that. Of course, there was a piece of me that was hopeful that the race would go on. It also kept me positive mentally during this lockdown period, thinking that there will be some chance of the Comrades Marathon still going ahead. But of course, I 100% understand the decision. Also, the fact that the weather gets quite hot in Durban later in the year definitely played a role. And also then, of course, it gets really close to the 2021 race date again. So runners will only have had a small amount of time to almost recover and then train again for the race in 2021. So I 100% understand the reasons for them to decide to cancel the race. And I'm just hopeful that in 2021, we will just celebrate the fact that we can run again together in this beloved race.
And you speak of 2021, of course, for this race. We now know that it will only come back in 2021. But what about other races that are still pending for this year? At the moment, we're not sure if other elite races, the Cape Town Marathon is still out there later in the year. There's the Soweto Marathon also later in this year. Do you have that fear that they too might follow suit?
Of course, there is a chance that they might also have to cancel. But personally, I am hopeful that the end of the year will look more fruitful than the beginning of the year. I'm really positive about how things are going globally with the virus. Progress are definitely being made. We have seen some other countries worldwide that have started opening up again after lockdown. And I'm hopeful that South Africa will be able to reach that point again still in 2020. As a professional athlete, I think it is very important at this moment just to be flexible and just being ready for whenever races start opening up again. I have to accept the fact that I will not have had the perfect preparation for a race. There's the chance of that. But I'll have to take my chances. I'll have to be flexible, and at the moment I have to be patient. And that counts for everyone. It's not just me. We're all in the same boat. Every athlete and social runner even. We are in the same position. But to answer the question, I am hopeful that later in the year, races will start opening up again.
Also, speaking about preparation, there are those who feel that the race could have been held maybe without spectators or things like that. But also, you would have needed to prepare for the race. I know runners would say you've been preparing for a year for this race, but there's preps that you would still need to have done. And going into the race, whether the country has moved to level 3 or level 2 or whatever the case might be at the time, fact that it remains that you would not have had adequate preparation while on level 4 lockdown, while on level 5 lockdown.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with that statement. Runners need a long time to prepare. It doesn't just take 1 month to prepare for a race. It takes almost a year to be ready for a specific day. And being in lockdown, it was very hard, if at any possible, to train, to run, especially long distances. And also, we must remember that it's not just running 90 kilometers that makes a race like Comrades great. It's not just a certain time at a certain place that you decide to run 90 kilometers. It's the entire vibe. It's the supporters. It's the families that get together, that celebrate together. It's you training for months on with your friends, doing what you love, and it becomes a way of life. It becomes such a big part of your life. So yes, the fact that we would maybe have been able to run from Durban to Pietermaritzburg, or from Pietermaritzburg to Durban on that date, it might have been possible, but we must remember that so much more goes into hosting a race like that. And we as Comrades runners, we know the race. We love it for what it is. And I think it is worth waiting for the day that can be back to normal again. And we can celebrate in the way that we know and the way that we choose to run. And I think that is quite exciting. It also just makes you more appreciative of the fact that in times when you are free to run wherever you want and with your friends. So I do think that a lot of positivity could come out of this in an appreciative way. And I'm hopeful for that, to hear that from other runners as well. And not for us to just be criticizing organizations, etc., for almost what might look that they're throwing in the towel. I think that is really not the way that it is at the moment. It's just really difficult times, and we must accept that and just be hopeful for the future.
What are some of those positives, though, Gerda, that we can look forward to when we go into 2021 for this race?
I think running has always taught us to persevere, and runners will know that we all know when you're running a marathon or a hard race, there comes times where you feel like giving up, and it feels like there's such a long way ahead still. But somehow you just find inner strength, and it carries you to the finish line. And the day when you get to the finish line, or the moment when you cross the finish line, you are a better person for it, because you know you persevered when times got tough. You didn't just stop. And I think that this will definitely teach us that. It is a difficult time now. It's unprecedented times, but it will not last forever. And when we get through this, and the day we can, like I said, celebrate again together, it will just make it even more special.
And does this mean it can only have a positive outcome? There's no negative impact at all on the South African athletics landscape as a whole, the fact that this biggest race has been postponed to next year?
I think mentally it can have a negative effect on individuals. It can definitely dampen the mood, the enthusiasm that you have. Not having anything to train for is tough. I mean, I'm a runner myself. I make a living out of athletics, and waking up in the morning without a specific race to look forward to in the near future, it is tough, and it is understandable that might have a negative impact on runners. But again, like I say, we all know that runners are a tough breed, and we will get through this together. Now is the time to not think about ourselves. We need to think of the bigger cause here. We need to remember why we are not allowed to run at the moment, and the fact that it is not for ourselves, but for others and our friends around us. So I think just having that mindset will help a lot with everything negative that might come out of this.
Such an important point that you're making, Gerda, that you make a living out of running. So many share the sentiment, and that's mostly for elite runners like yourself, like Edward Mutibi, who won last year as well, and others, of course, run socially. But are you at all worried about the income for this year, and not only from race winnings or things like that, but also incentives, sponsorships, stuff like that?
Yes, of course, it is the way that I make a living. I chose to leave my desk job a few years ago and take up professional running for a career. And of course, it is concerning. Comrade Marathon, for an example, is obviously a great payday for me, or it was last year, which I will lose out on this year. But I'm very, very fortunate to have still got the support of my sponsors behind me. My club, the Nedbank Running Club, has been supportive throughout all of this. They've been more than just financially supported. They've also supported me in a motivational way, because the runners have been checking up on each other, very recent, ongoing checkups on each other. We've also been setting challenges for each other to try out. So I think all of that has also been very, very helpful. And again, we'll just have to see what the future holds. Hopefully the sponsorship companies will manage to stay afloat during these difficult times and keep supporting us through the difficult time being an athlete. And after that, hopefully that things will just be able to resume to normal again, and we can give back what they give to us in carrying their name by continuing our talents and competing in races again.
Gerda, let's stay with money matters. There's a bit of a controversial issue here. Comrades has this clause that you will not be receiving or getting a refund on your entry fee, which is 600 Rand, especially South African runners, and it will also not be deferred to next year, and foreign runners will be deferred to next year, or their entrance fee. How do you feel about that?
Yes, that is true. It is in the clause, in the fine writing, that you won't get a refund when the race is cancelled. But we have to remember, I think that a lot of runners will be upset with this, and they probably didn't know about it. But the thing is that we have to remember is a race like Comrades Marathon has got a lot of overhead costs. It's not just about the day. There's not just water sachets that they have to buy with the income that they get from race entries. They have got year-on staff, ongoing staff, and permanent people who works for them from January to December, and they will need an income. So I do think that we must remember that a lot happens behind the scenes. A race like Comrades Marathon is in no means trying to have a negative impact on their runners. They need the runners to make the race a success. So I do think that they have got a lot of overhead costs that we don't always see, and I am 100% sure that they will use those costs to cover their costs, the income that they made to cover their own costs. And we as runners have to respect that.